Just for the point of processing, I'm just going to take care of two small items up front. First, I'd just like to do a roll call. Trustee Berenger?
Berenger's present.
Ferraro, here. Trustee Carl?
Present.
Trustee O'Connor?
Present.
Mayor Dwyer here. Thank you. What I'm going to ask for is right up front, the appointment of a full-time clerk to the village justice. If I could have your honor. Let me just give me 1 second here. Okay. Resolved, the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of Judge Strauss and hereby appoints Tina Tripoli of 19 Mountain Avenue, Middletown, New York, 10940, to the position of full-time clerk, the village justice, effective November 7, 2024, at a salary of $45,000 per year. I need a motion to accept the resolution.
O'Connor will make the motion.
Ferraro, second.
Discussion? Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I. Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Thank you and welcome. Okay, real quick, next order of business, the appointment of Paul Ellis Graham as village historian. Resolved, the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of Mayor Dwyer and hereby appoint Paul Ellis Graham to the position of village historian effective November 5, 2024. I need a motion to accept that resolution.
Ferraro.
Oh, sorry.
Ferraro passed.
Second?
Berenger will second.
Discussion? Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I. Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Thank you.
Is he a village resident or no?
No, not any longer. He lives in Montgomery now. Okay. Yep. But as everybody knows, Paul Ellis Graham, hopefully everybody knows, longtime Monroe Woodbury teacher, and an absolute authority on everything there.
He knows a lot about the history of Monroe.
He does a lot of walks through the village.
Okay, next order of business, we have the Monroe Free Library here. We have Amanda Prignano as the spokesperson for this evening. Please, the floor is yours.
Hi. I don't know if you guys need it or not, but okay. My name is Amanda. I'm the executive director of the Monroe Free Library. I'm here tonight to talk to you about a potential collaboration between the library and the village with a story walk in Airplane Park. The library was very fortunate last year to receive a grant from Senator Skoufis. And we took some time to think about how we wanted to invest that into the community. We wanted to bring something unique that could be enjoyed for a long time to come, and that is a story walk. For those of you who are not familiar with a story walk is basically a picture book blown up and told, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's a story walk told across 16 displays, kind of similar to how you have around the pond with the history of the village. However, this is one story. And so when we were thinking about where could we possibly, would be a great place where the most people can access this story walk, we felt Airplane Park might be that place. It's walkable, people come and use the park, and it's an activity that's always available and open. So a little bit more about a story walk and the logistics. A story walk is typically 16 panels, 40 paces apart, which is approximately a half a mile, which is the approximate length that's good for a small child to be able to complete the story walk. And these pedestals are typically 16 of them. They're aluminum display. We're working with a company that we would purchase them from using our Senator Skoufis grant. We would purchase the pedestals from them. We'd also rent the books. And the rental of the books would get absorbed into our operating budget. So that's something that we would continue even after we've used the money for the grant. They would be fixated in the ground. The panels are 18 by 24. And each book would be in Spanish and English, so more of our community can enjoy the book. And it also is printed with a special ink that is fade resistant. So it doesn't matter where in the park you put it, it would be durable. So how often can we do this? We would do it once per season, so 4 books total. But it's not just one story. We'd be able to do lots of different events around the story. So, for example, we could have a scavenger hunt where, depending on the type of story, a lot of libraries do that, where there's a story, they encourage people to enjoy it, and throughout the time that the story is on display, there's a scavenger hunt where they come to the library, get the sheet, complete the scavenger hunt, go back. We can do a ribbon cutting to keep people engaged and acknowledge that, hey, there's a new book in the story walk. Let's go see what it is. There's also opportunities to do crafts around the story walk. So there's lots of opportunities there. Besides the book, the advantage is we would be able to obviously take the story out and put it back in. But in the meantime, we can also do other community-focused, engaged opportunities, such as community art. A few years ago, the library did a photography contest, and we had lots of interest. So I could imagine us being able to do similar things with the Story Walk, where we can have community art on display, we could have poetry in there, any type of motivational message, depending on the time of the year, we can place those in those displays. I also envision us doing scavenger hunts with raffle prizes where we could be giving away local gift cards from local businesses. So that's another great opportunity. The dream would be also to work with community partners. So let's say the book is about springtime and gardening and composting. We could work with the local nursery, Gray Barn Farms, and they can come and do a demo on what is good to compost, what's not good to compost. The possibilities are truly endless. So a little bit more of the logistics. What we would need from the village. Obviously, we would need your approval to permanently install the story walk somewhere in Airplane Park. We would also need your support with the installation. So the company that we're working with, they don't install it for us. We just purchase the materials from them. We would also need assistance with, mowing around it, making sure the path is safe to travel, and also, in the event that we do want to host an event, we'd obviously come and fill out an event application for your approval. What we would be responsible for would be the installation of any of the displays. We would be installing them, deinstalling them. We would also promote the story walk. We would check in on the panels to make sure that they're in good condition, if they need repaired or replacement, etc. We'd submit the event applications appropriately, timing-wise, and we'd also be responsible for the setup and the cleanup of all of these events that we would like to have around the story walk. So lastly, who benefits from this? Well, story walks promote early literacy, reading comprehension, listening skills. They also encourage healthy outdoor activities, family time. It's a free family event that is always open to the public, no matter what time of day. It will promote the library and the use of the park. And lastly, it will show that we can collaborate together, and it is a commitment to bring unique assets to the community. Thank you for your time.
Question,
Sure.
So the post and the placard, are they the specs that I gave you?
You never gave me specs. You told me that you wanted me to use your posts, but I never got the specifics from those posts.
Yeah, I would, if possible, yes, they are. I would hope, because I don't want to have,
Right,
any inconsistencies. I think it's
Yeah.
important to have that continuity.
right.
So yes, we'll confirm.
Okay, I'd have to see because it depends on the dimensions that I
It
can
is.
get the
Right.
books printed on, so.
You said 18 by 24.
18 by 24.
That's what those are.
Okay, is there a way for me to easily install the pages and uninstall them?
Yeah, so there's 2 screws, and that takes the glass cover off with the frame,
Okay,
and then you have access to the inside.
okay, all right, I mean, I'd
There's a
have
wee
to.
hole at the bottom.
Right, I'd have to really see it before I can, I want to make sure that it's a good fit. So I mean, maybe worst case scenario, we purchase one book and maybe test one of yours out to see how it looks and see if it would actually work.
So the pages of the book are enlarged? then?
Correct,
The events that you're planning to hold in the park,
correct.
we're going to upgrade that park
That's why I'm coming now. I think
Well,
it's
there's not
perfect
gonna be much
timing.
room, not for 16 placards.
Well, I'm-
Almost every square inch of that park is gonna have equipment. There's gonna be 200-foot zip lines and huge amounts of equipment.
No, when you were, let me just clarify for the public. You're
You're
talking about Crane Park, not Airplane Park.
No, she's talking about airplane
Airplane
park.
park. I mean, I'll
Oh,
take
inside the
whatever.
park?
I'll take whatever space you'll give me. I'm not
Right.
picky.
No, that's
I'm just
fine.
looking for a
Right.
location.
I hear you.
You're looking to be on the inside of the fence line.
Doesn't matter if we're outside of it, if we're inside
Right.
the perimeter. I don't care. I don't have a preference.
I really personally like the idea. I'm a reading teacher, and I feel that, well, I just feel that reading is so important, and I think it's a lost thing that, really, I think
No,
kids, like, I read to my children all the time, and people aren't reading to their children, and, to get them outside, and I like the fact that the books change out, a few times a year. There's so much we could do with activities for them. And I just think even when you were saying you could put poems, like, I know now there's a lot of like self-esteem issues with not just kids, but everyone, adults, and, a lot of like the be kind of, you know what I'm talking about, like just,
right. Choose love,
like
be kind.
person
Right.
behind me, you matter, that kind of a thing. I feel like that's something that could really help with people's mental health and self-esteem.
We're planning upgrades to Crane Park as well, and that has a lot more space, a lot more area. Probably an area could be set aside there. I just don't think Airplane Park, after we're finished with it, is going to be a good spot.
You know what threw me off, Amanda, just so I'm clear. When you said 40 paces between each sign, and I think you said in the aggregate it would be about a half a mile.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, that's what made me think you're talking about Crane Park, because you don't have a half a mile in the inside of so that's just.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be. It could be shorter. I've seen it much closer together, more spread apart. It depends on the space that's available.
Okay.
We are not picky.
And then as far as the opportunity to be in Crane Park, that would be available as well. If
Can you, like, where exactly are you thinking that would that work?
I don't know, like for instance, the points of interest that are out there now. There's 13 of them,
Yes.
and they're about 250 feet apart.
Right. That's too far.
No, I get it. But
Right.
just to give you a visualization,
Yeah.
so if they're 250 feet apart approximately, right?
Yeah.
And that's the entire Crane Park perimeter,
Right.
So in your case, you're looking to put 40 paces, and I'm just gonna guess that's 2 feet for each pace?
Yes.
give or take?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's 80 feet per, at 16?
Right. That's the typical size. I mean, that's just what we were quoted. So it really depends, I'm amendable. I'm not stuck on 16 displays. It just really depends on the books, right? So the company that we're using with, they recommended 16 as their standard because the books that they print are typically 16 pages. So there's some logistics there.
What about just following the perimeter of the fence line in that park?
I don't know, when she said,
Because I don't think your playground equipment's gonna go right up to the fence line.
Right.
And you could, if you did on the inside fence line around,
I'd like to keep it out of the Airplane Park. The Crane Park is much larger.
I mean, do we have to say exactly where we want it at the moment, or just that we want it?
I think we need to look it all over. Now,
Right.
one other question I have, would this thing be seasonal or would it be year round?
Year round.
Year
This
round.
would be year round.
So there might be some winter books in the winter.
Agreed. Yes, absolutely.
Maybe you're making a snow angel with your,
well, one of the challenges there, again, going into the winter. So, and it'd probably be best if you saw the renovation for the Airplane Park and how that's being matted out.
Yeah.
That won't be they won't be maintaining that in the winter. So if we get a snowfall,
Right.
whereas in the Crane
Yeah.
Park, the paths will be.
Right.
So if you're looking for year-round serviceability.
It doesn't have to be winter. It's just the opportunity to do it at any point. Like if we wanted to, just say, all right, from January to whatever, we don't change the book. That's fine. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not, I'm amendable to that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought it would be a nice space inside Airplane Park because of it being enclosed and not, with the road and all that stuff. I mean, I like I said, I'm just looking for a home for it.
Yeah. No, I understand it. I get it. Absolutely. And then we're gonna find out if those things do fit. I don't see how they wouldn't.
Right.
Is the manufacturer of the books, do they dictate the exact size, like, I mean, like the 1/8 of an inch kind of thing, or is there some room in there?
I think, I mean, I'd have to call my rep and find out the complete logistics of it. The bare basics that I know, it's that it's 18 by 24. That's all I know.
Okay, so we put your folks in touch with our folks
Okay.
at the supplier, which is out in Utah. Because I really would urge us to try to find a way to keep that continuity.
Okay.
I just, I
Yeah.
think it just looks right. right?
I'm fine with that for sure. Yeah, but if it's in the event that it doesn't work out in that respect, where do we go from there, right? Like, if the measurements are off or whatnot, like if my book is too big to fit into your frame.
Well, is this company, the books, these 18 by 24 books, they're made to order, right? So you
Correct.
pick the book of the topic,
Correct.
and then they print it the size. And,
Yeah.
I gotta believe there's a workaround for that.
Okay. All right.
I mean, let's take your high road.
Great.
Any other questions? Marty,
No, sounds good.
thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, gotcha. All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be in touch.
This you?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for your time today.
All right,
Thank you all so much.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, next order of business is a due process hearing for 153, 155 Stage Road, SBL 212-7-10. Whereas the due process hearing is being held on Monday, November 4, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Village Boardroom of the Village Hall, 7 Stage Road, Monroe, New York. The hearing is being held to review the violation issued by the Village of Monroe Building Department on the following property within the Village of Monroe: 153 and 155 Stage Road, tax map known as 212-7-10 as per the Village Code Section 155A-6E, General Requirements. All land must be kept free of dead or dying trees and accumulation of brush, shrubs, weeds, grass, stumps, roots, excessive or noxious growth, garbage, refuge, or debris which would either tend to start a fire or increase the intensity of a fire already started, or cause poisoning or irritation to people or animals, or cause or tend to cause or enhance an unhealthy or dangerous obnoxious condition on said property or an adjacent or neighboring property. The specific violation is garbage and debris found on the property. What I'd like to do is, this is 153 and 155 Stage Road, SBL 212-7-10. What I'd like to do is introduce all three. So that's the first property. The exact same violation is the same for 573 Route 17M, SBL 220-5-19. Which has the same Village Code Section 155A-6E general requirements, as does the third hearing, which is 330 Stage Road, SBL 213-1-30, and it is a violation of Section Code 155A-6E. So anyone wishing to speak upon 153/155 Stage Road, SBL 212-7-10. Anyone willing to speak or wishes to speak on SBL 220-5-19, which is 573 Route 17M. And the third property is 330 Stage Road, SBL 213-1-30. So you're welcome to come on up. We'll start with 153 and 155. Anyone from the public wish to speak on that matter, please do so.
I went by that today. I don't know if you noticed it. They had stuff all piled up on the sidewalk today. Apparently the garbage man didn't pick it up and it's blocking the sidewalk.
Sure.
It was around noon time, 1 o'clock when I went by there.
It also says it's the fourth offense.
Now, I complained about this property in the past with all the stuff between the old Sacred Heart Chapel and this, where they were piling stuff between the buildings. So
Okay, for the record, let's note that no one is here for 153 or 155 Stage, Stage Road,
Stage Road.
sorry. No, for the record, let it be known that no one is here on behalf of those two addresses. I need a motion to close the due process hearing on this property.
Carl will make the motion.
Second,
O'Connor will second.
call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. The next one is the 573 Route 17M Monroe, SBL 220-5-19. Anyone on representing that property is welcome to come on up and speak to the board. Again, for the record, please note that no one here on behalf of 573 Route 17M, SBL 220-5-19 is here this evening. I'd like to make a motion to close that due process hearing.
Ferraro, make the motion.
Second,
Berenger will second.
call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. The next due process hearing is 330 Stage Road, SBL 213-1-30. Anyone wishing to speak upon that property is welcome to do so at this time.
Mayor, the only thing I see on this one here that, just for clarification, it says growing alongside Route 17 side of building. That should be 17M.
Take care of that, Kim. I guess somehow when it got from there to there. AI's at it again.
Yep.
Okay, if there's someone wishing to speak upon that, I need a motion to close that due process hearing on that property.
O'Connor will make the motion.
Second,
Carl, a second.
call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Next order of business, I need a motion to accept the minutes of October 15th as submitted by the clerk.
Berenger will make the motion.
Carl will second.
Discussion, call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried, thank you.
No.
Sorry? You weren't here. Oh, Dwyer abstains, thank you. Okay, next order of business. The adoption of local law number 6 of 2024, amending chapter 43 of the Village Code, Vehicles and Traffic. Whereas the Village Board of the Village of Monroe, New York, duly noticed a public hearing that was held on September 3rd, 2024, and whereas the Village Board solicited public comment during said public hearing on September 3rd, 2024, and whereas the proposed local law amends chapter 43 of the Village Code, Vehicles and Traffic. Now therefore, be it resolved that the above whereas paragraphs are incorporated herein by reference. 2, the local law amending Chapter 43 of the Village Code, Vehicles and Traffic was attached and is adopted as local law number 6 of 2024 of the Village of Monroe on November 4, 2024. Number 3, the Village Board hereby directs the village clerk to take all steps necessary to process and file said local law. And 4, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its filing with the Secretary of State. I need a motion to adopt this local law 6 of 2024.
Ferraro, make the motion.
Second,
O'Connor will second.
call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Next order of business, certification of unpaid village taxes. Trustee O'Connor?
Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees is authorized and certified the unpaid village tax return upon verification by Treasurer Velez that the unpaid tax amount of $455,117.92 is correct. It is further resolved that upon verification and certification, the document is to be submitted to the Orange County Department of Finance by November 15th, 2024. I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Second, please.
Carl, a second.
Discussion? Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried, thank you. Next order of business, complimentary holiday parking in the Meadic Central Business District. Resolved, the Board of Trustees declare complimentary holiday parking from December 1, 2024 through January 2, 2025 in the Central Business District of the Village. I need a motion to adopt this.
Berenger, make the motion.
Ferraro, second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer,
The only concern I have with this, I know that we passed it, but it's a lot of these tenants, and that was a lot of what was going on this summer when there was no kiosk. The people that are living, the folks that are living in the apartments above the stores just think it's free reign for them to park there as well. How do we control that?
what we could do is maybe we could bring on code, the parking enforcement officer for the seasonal month and chalk the tires.
Because that's a lot of that parking that was going on, it not only the business owners, but it's the tenants living above the business owners.
Good point.
And they're parking their cars there, and they think it's free, that they can just leave the car there all day long. And that, again, that hurts the businesses. We're trying to give complimentary parking so people can come in, do their shopping and leave, but
Well,
when,
yeah, I think
So
chalking the tires is probably the only way to do
I
it.
think it's something to
Allow
discuss
2
with.
How
the
long are
police
you
chief.
thinking, like 2 hours?
2 hours, like as if the meters were running.
Yeah, if you're going to eat or something.
So, it's just something to think about.
And I think if he did it, I'm thinking this correctly, right? So if he chalks anything at 8 o'clock, it's the same chalk until 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, it's a different color chalk. If you got that color chalk, you're ticketed.
Right.
Done. And you don't get to come back. Yeah, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right, so we call the question, yes?
Yeah, we passed it. All done.
Okay, next order of business, Village of Monroe Board of Trustees resolution concerning violation of property maintenance 153 and 155 of Stage Road. As per Village Codes, Article 1, Section 155A-6E, failure to control trash and rubbish, all land must be kept free of dead.
What about the dredging?
But we just did that, and now it's stretching.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna take that back.
I thought we voted all these, we closed the hearings, didn't we vote them in?
Close, now we gotta go ahead and.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, I gotcha.
Okay, so trustee Carl, if we can go back to payment authorization, if you would take that for me?
5C.
Let's see.
Okay, resolve the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of engineer Eric Zimmerman and approves payment number 1 submitted by Spectra Serve Inc., 75 Jacobus Avenue, South Kearney, New Jersey, 07032, for the South Mill Pond dredging project in the amount of $460,688.25. All documentation has been reviewed and found complete. Mayor Dwyer is hereby authorized to sign the voucher for payment, and I will put that in the form of a motion.
Second, please.
O'Connor will second.
Discussion?
It's moving along. I was over there today watching them.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, ayes so carried, thank you.
Now you can go.
Now I can go. Okay, Village of Monroe Board of Trustees resolution concerning violation of property maintenance to 153 and 155 Stage Road, SBL 212-7-10. As per Village Code, Article 1, Section 155A-6E, failure to control trash and rubbish, all land must be kept free of dead, dying trees and accumulation of brush, shrubs, weeds, grass, stumps, roots, and excessive or obnoxious growth, garbage, refuge, or debris which would either tend to start a fire or increase the intensity of a fire already started, or cause poisoning or irritation to people or animals, or cause or tend to cause or enhance an unhealthy or dangerous or obnoxious condition on said property on adjacent or neighboring property. The specific violation is garbage and debris found on the property and there has been failure to remedy. Okay. It's fine. Whereas the longstanding violations of the Village Property Maintenance Code, Chapter 155A-6E of the Village Code have existed at 153 and 155 Stage Road, Village of Monroe, New York, designated as tax map SBL 212-7-10, and whereas the property owner has been given proper and lawful notice of said violation and have been directed to correct the violations, and whereas the property owner was given due notice of a due process hearing to be held this evening on November 4th at 7 p.m., and whereas the owner has not appeared, and whereas the owner has not taken the steps to correct the violation and the violation still exists, and whereas the Board of Trustees is authorized pursuant to Section 155-A8 of the Property Maintenance Law to authorize the village to undertake the remedy and of such violation of the property at owner's expense and cost. Be it further resolved, the village clerk shall mail a certified copy of this resolution to him as well as certified mail. And be it further resolved, any violation that remains uncorrected on the property as of, and I'm gonna put tomorrow morning instead of tonight, because our code enforcement's home sick, so nobody validated this. While I understand you weren't out there today, we don't know as of this hearing whether it's completed. So as of tomorrow morning, call at 9 a.m., okay? The Board of Trustees hereby authorize the village as contractors or agents to enter upon the property to correct the aforesaid violation, and that all costs incurred by the village, including administrative, legal, and corrective costs, be charged to the property owner, and such charge shall be added to the tax bill of the property owner if not paid within 30 days of notification to the last known address of the property owner as shown on the village tax map. I need a motion to adopt this resolution.
Carl, I'll make that motion.
Second,
O'Connor will second.
call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried, thank you. Next order of business, Village of Monroe Board of Trustees, resolution concerning violations of property maintenance at 573 State Route 17M SBL 220-5-19. As per Village Code, Article 1, Section 155A-6E, failure to control trash and rubbish, all land must be kept free of dead, dying trees and accumulation of brush, shrubs, weeds, grass, stumps, roots, and excessive or noxious growths, garbage, refuge, or debris which would either tend to start a fire or increase the intensity of a fire already started, or cause poisoning or irritation to people or animals, or cause or tend to cause or enhance an unhealthy or dangerous or obnoxious condition on said property or any adjacent or neighboring property. The specific violation is a large dead tree branch partially suspended from a tree on the right front of the property. There has been failure to remedy. Whereas longstanding violations of the Village Property Maintenance Code 155A-6E of the Village Code of Monroe have existed at 573 State Route 17M at the Village of Monroe 10950, designated as tax map SBL 220-5-19, and whereas the property owner has been given proper and lawful notice of said violation and has been directed to correct the violation, and whereas the property owner was given due notice of a due process hearing to be held by the Board of Trustees on November 4, 2024 at 7 p.m., and whereas the owner has not appeared, and whereas the owner has not taken the steps to correct the violation, all violations still exist, and whereas the Board of Trustees is authorized pursuant to Section 155-A8 of the Property Maintenance Law to authorize the village to undertake such remedy of the property at the owner's cost and expense. And be it further resolved, the village clerk shall mail a certified copy of the resolution, and as well a certified mail be sent. And be it further resolved that any violation that remains uncorrected on the property as of November 5, 2024 at 9 a.m. By the Board of Trustees hereby authorize the village as contractors or agents to enter upon the property to correct the aforesaid violation, and that all costs incurred by the village, including administrative, legal, and corrective costs, be charged to the owner, and such charge shall be added to the tax bill of the property owner if not paid within 30 days of notification to the last known address of the property known and shown as the village tax records. I need a motion to accept this resolution.
Carl, I'll make the motion.
Second,
Berenger will second.
call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried, thank you. Next order of business, Village of Monroe Board of Trustees resolution concerning violations of property maintenance at 330 Stage Road, SBL 213-1-30, as per Village Code, Article 1, Section 155A, 6E, failure to control trash and rubbish. All land must be kept free of dead, dying trees and accumulation of brush, shrubs, weeds, grass, stumps, roots, excessive and or noxious growth, garbage, refuge, or debris which would either tend to start a fire or increase the intensity of a fire already started, or cause poisoning or irritation to people or animals, or cause or tend to cause or enhance an unhealthy or dangerous or obnoxious condition on said property or on any adjacent or neighboring property. The specific violation is garbage and debris around the property, including large weeds and shrubs growing alongside the 17M side of the building. There has been failure to remedy. Whereas the longstanding violations of the Village Code, Chapter 155A-6E of the Village Code of Monroe have existed at 330 Stage Road, designated as tax map SBL 213-1-30, and whereas the property owner has been given proper and lawful notice of said violations and has been directed to correct the violations, and whereas the property owner was given due notice of a due process hearing to be held this evening on November 4, 2024 at 7 p.m., and whereas the owner has not appeared, and whereas the owner has not taken the steps to correct the violation and the violation still exists, and whereas the Board of Trustees authorized pursuant to Section 155-A8 of the Property Maintenance Law to authorize the village to undertake to remedy such violation of the property at owner's cost and expense, and be it further resolved, the village clerk shall mail a certified copy of this resolution as well as a certified mail. Be it further resolved that any violation that remains uncorrected on the property as of November 5, 2024 at 9 a.m., the Board of Trustees hereby authorize the village, its contractors or agents to enter upon the property to correct the aforesaid violation, that all costs incurred by the village, including administrative, legal, and corrective costs, be charged to the property owner, and such charge shall be added to the tax bill of the property owner if not paid within 30 days of notification to the last known address of the property owner as shown on the village tax records. I need a motion to accept this resolution.
Berenger will make the motion.
Second?
Carl, a second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Thank you. Okay. Next order of business, resolution separating the building department functions into a new New York State Uniform Building Code Enforcement and Local Property Maintenance Code and Zoning Law Enforcement. Village of Monroe, resolution separating the building department functions into New York State Uniform Building Code Enforcement and Local Property Maintenance Code and Zoning Law Enforcement. Whereas the existing building department of the Village of Monroe is charged with the enforcement of the New York State Uniform Code as well as the local village laws such as property maintenance and zoning. And whereas the Village of Monroe Board of Trustees finds and determines that there is a marked increase in the number of violations of the village's property maintenance code and zoning law, which include increased garbage and litter on residential and commercial property causing unsightly blight, as well as providing a breeding ground for vermin and infestation, homes and buildings, properties that are run down and not being maintained in a safe and reasonably well-conditioned space, single-family homes being used as unlawful boarding houses that lead to the overcrowding and possibly causing dangerous and unsanitary conditions, numerous cars and trucks that are being parked on residential lawns and sometimes encroaching on neighboring properties, unpermitted uses of single-family homes that cause dangerous parking conditions on village streets and disrupt quiet residential neighborhoods, unlawful use of the single-family homes for short-term rentals, and various other quality-of-life infractions reported to the Board of Trustees that are creating a nuisance and negatively affecting the quiet enjoyment of the village residents in their neighborhoods and homes, and which in total disaffect village residents and property owners who maintain their homes and businesses in a manner that reasonably safeguards the health and safety of all people living, working, or visiting in the Village of Monroe. And whereas the Board of Trustees finds and determines that merely increasing its building department staff is not sufficient to address the increase in property maintenance and zoning law violations, and a new paradigm in the structure of the building department may enable the village's building inspectors and code enforcement officers to better and more efficiently handle their respective responsibilities. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Monroe Building Department shall henceforth be organized into two departments known as the Office of Building Code Enforcement and the Office of Local Code Enforcement. Each office shall be under the direction of a building inspector licensed by the state of New York with authority to enforce the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, the Uniform Code, who shall report to the mayor or other such village officer as designated by the mayor. Be it further resolved that the general duties of the building code enforcement will be to enforce the Uniform Code with the exception of New York State Property Code maintenance, including among other things the issuance of building permits for all projects that require a building permit, the enforcement of compliance of subdivision, site plan, or a special use permit approvals issued by the Village of Monroe Planning Board, inspection of all construction projects, including infrastructure, and the issuance of certificates of occupancy, among other duties ascribed to a building inspector licensed to enforce the Uniform Code. Be it further resolved that the general duties of the Office of Local Code Enforcement will be to enforce the compliance of the Village Code property maintenance law and the Village of Monroe zoning law. Be it further resolved that within 30 days of the enactment of this resolution, all employees of the building department shall meet with the mayor or his designee on a schedule as determined by the mayor to further define the requisite tasks assigned to each office, the staffing requirements thereto, and all the other organizational details as necessary to effectuate the goals of this resolution. Be it further resolved that the mayor shall immediately appoint one member of the existing building department to issue a report and recommendation to the Board of Trustees forthwith for the purpose and implementation of software to automate to the greatest extent possible the functions of the building code enforcement and building code, and Office of Local Code Enforcement. I need a motion to accept this as
Berenger will make the motion.
second.
Ferraro, second.
Discussion? Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Next order of business, agreement, Orange County Town and Villages Drug and Alcohol Testing for 2025 with Partners in Safety. Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the drug and alcohol renewal agreement for 2025 Town and Villages of Orange County, where Partners in Safety, under the terms and conditions of the agreement, shall provide the Village of Monroe with drug testing that meets the compliance of the the U.S. Department of Transportation, requiring alcohol and drug testing of safety-sensitive employees Complete DOT random testing programming is $53 per test. Pre-employment and post-accident reasonable cause or follow-up testing performed during business hours at the rates quoted in the agreement. It is further resolved the Board of Trustees authorize Mayor Dwyer to sign the agreement with Partners in Safety. I need a motion.
I'll
Berenger,
make the motion.
Second?
Berenger will second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Yep.
Is there a cost fixed each employee, $58 per employee per year?
I don't think it's, yeah, I don't think it,
Complete DOT program,
Yes, we
50,
pay that upfront. That pays in January.
we pay that up front, right, for each, is that all DPW
Yes.
and water personnel, or just with,
Well, anybody who has a CDL.
anybody's got a CDL?
one,
So it's $58,
53.
no, it's 58,
Yeah, but
what
this
it is
is-
per employee per year.
This is something else. This is, if you read the contract.
I'm going by what's on the, on my tablet.
Yeah, the contract.
Yeah, I'm looking at the contract, yeah. So it's $58 an employee plus, if there's testing involved, I think that's the 53 that you're talking about. If there's a DOT drug test at a lab, it's $53 per test. But you have a upfront cost of $58 per employee. So, we're mandated to do this. I don't know if I've ever seen that in the budget.
I don't, can I, why don't I have that?
5H.
Keep going down, keep going down, keep going, keep going. There you go. This
Okay,
up
so this is
here.
53, this is the complete, okay.
Yeah, so each employee, argument's sake, there's 10 employees, that's $580 up front. The clerk said, gets paid up front. And then as these employees get called for the random drug testing, or if they're pulled out for an accident or something, it looks like $53
And
per
random,
test.
that's what I was looking after, okay. Okay, so,
That's the way I'm looking at it.
no, I don't want to argue there.
But what, we need to take a look at the budget too, to see exactly what they have in their administrative lines for
Yes,
this.
yep,
That should fall in there somewhere.
sure it does. Okay, you good?
Yep.
Okay, so we had a first and second, call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I?
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Okay, that concludes our agenda for the evening. I don't know, board have anything?
Just Veterans Day's coming up, and I just want to thank our veterans for their service, and maybe just for everyone to just think about them next week. Really, just all the time, but next week because it's a special day.
Yeah, no doubt. Next Monday, beginning, I want to say, let's see, breakfast is at 8. I want to say 10 o'clock. We have a memorial service, which begins at the old ambulance corps building at the Veterans Monument there. It continues from there, it goes over to the Oakland Avenue up here, and then it goes down to Harriman at 1 Harriman Square. When they have that rotation that comes in, and there's a greets, there's a military salute, and then there's taps played at each station. That is a really very poignant, very important thing. I think people should attend that, and the public should be there. I think it's a really great thing for our veterans to see, and not just the political people and the vets themselves, everybody in the village. So there's 5,000 people that probably could come. So let's see, I challenge 500 to show up. November 11th, 10 o'clock,
There's two places in Harriman. They do the Harriman Village Square,
and they go around.
and they do the Emily Perez Memorial
Yes.
down on the road. Here they do the old ambulance building, and then over on
I know. And also, the kids are off tomorrow. I know my students are making cards. If people have time when they're home, maybe make a patriotic looking card or a thank you. You can always drop them off at the American Legion. And it's really nice to see how happy the veterans are when they receive a nice card thanking them. Just brightens their day.
No doubt. No doubt, thank you. We're good?
Yeah, I got a couple things. Just so the public is aware, last week we went into voluntary water restrictions. Monbassia Reservoir is down 22 inches right now. We've had not much rain the last 3 months, so we don't want to have to go into the first stage. So hopefully people just adhere to, if you got leaks, take care of them.
Voluntary, is this?
It's voluntary right now, yes. So that's that. Smith Clove Park had their fall festival this past Saturday. I know I went down, my grandson seemed to enjoy it. We were there for quite a while. So I know the mayor, you were there, so that was good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And just looking for statuses on, have we made any headway on contractors for the Village Hall renovations?
We have two. We need a third. We're waiting for that third person to give us an estimate for, that's it.
Okay. And street lighting upgrade, I know it sounds like a broken record here, but just seeing where we are.
Yeah, so I've spoken with Orange and Rockland. How many times do you think you brought this up?
Enough.
No. So I've brought it up enough plus 20. And I've actually suggested calling the PSC. Maybe that would help induce some cooperation. And I've got a great liaison. She works with us on a lot of initiatives. It's just overwhelming to imagine. Orange and Rockland is owned by Con Ed out of New York, and as far as I'm concerned, they don't do anything right. So it's just shocking. We're trying to get a lighting program done throughout the village, which we have 547 LED lights potentially. I think there's probably 200 that are already been replaced, but we're going to take ownership of all of them. That results in efficiency, better lighting, better use, not replacing them as often. And the biggest thing is it's going to save money, which is going to bring down our costs to run that piece of our world in the village budget pretty significantly. So we want to see that happen. So just to answer the question, I've reached out numerous times. I just got another email today from the company that we've actually hired to replace the lights. And they want an update because they can't touch those lights. They're owned by Orange and Rockland until we buy them. We actually have to buy them. After we buy them, we get to throw them away, which is just outstanding. And then we get to put new ones up. So yeah, that's it.
All right, well, just like I say, I know folks out there in Cyberland are listening, I'm sure, and just as long as we know it's moving along. And the double poles, the same thing with Orange and Rockland?
Well, it's not Orange and Rockland. That's Frontier, the other company that's not MIA. So they're primarily, the way it works, everybody understands, you got a telephone pole, let's say it's 50 feet tall. And at the top of that 50 feet is the utility known as Orange and Rockland, or the electric piece. And sequentially coming down, I think it's at a 4-foot spacing.
40 inches, then it comes to a foot a piece.
And as it comes down the pole, one of the last ones is the telephone. And they just have not responded. What we call, Trustee Carl is talking about, the double poles mean we've got a brand new pole up, and then right next to it is an old pole. And as you take it down, you're supposed to chop off a piece of the pole. So nothing can be reattached or whatever, I guess. I don't know. It seems kind of ridiculous, but this is what they do. I think almost, in the village, they probably should have a fund. And every time you put a pole up, you got to put $1,000 in the fund, and it sits there. And then every time the pole has to come out, you take it from the fund because they're not doing it. It's just remarkable. It's like watching paint dry.
Yeah, that's all I got. Just
Mr. O'Connor? Okay. Having said that, I don't think we have, I know council has nothing, right?
Yes.
So, we have no executive, right, Kim?
How about public comment?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes.
that's right. Anyone wishing to speak to us, come on up, please.
How are you, everyone?
Yep, good.
So my name is Casey Auerbach. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Monroe Free Library. I represent the Board of Trustees. I'm coming to you tonight with a concern. Now, personally, I raised this concern as a citizen recently with Mayor Dwyer and had a fantastic conversation. We gave me a call and gave me the courtesy of talking about the parking policies that exist in the village currently. Tonight, I'm coming with a concern as a Monroe trustee of the library, because since that conversation, we've had 80 complaints from patrons of the library coming in and being subsequently ticketed or about to be ticketed as a result of the new parking policies. Historically, those 3 spots that are in front of the library were never a part of any sort of a parking arrangement or structure. The opposite side of the street was part of the metering, but not those 3 spots in front of the library. None of the businesses past the library, meaning from the
Dry cleaners?
Smithfield Court.
from the dry cleaners over is ticketed, is part of this, but then from
Smithfield Court.
no, from Flagship Cinemas and over is not on the same side of the street as us.
Right.
So it really almost seems like we are the starting point as opposed to 3 spots down where our patrons would not be as affected. Now, we understand that there was a need to make a change in the village, and we appreciate the fact that the lines on those 3 spots have now been outlined in green. The signage, however, is still marked parallel with the street instead of perpendicular, making it difficult for our patrons to know the difference. And ultimately, I was really excited to hear this conversation still evolving tonight at the meeting, as Trustee Carl had suggested with the chalking of tires. Rather than coming with a problem, I'm hoping to come with a solution. And I'm urging the board to consider chalking tires in those 3 spots to give a 30-minute grace period for a number of our patrons. Most of our people are just trying to come in, drop off books, run back out. Now, we do have a curbside service. A lot of patrons don't utilize it. And what's happening as a result is patrons pulling in and leaving their car in the middle of the driveway to run in real quick, then blocking anyone else from coming in. And ultimately, the message that we're sending our patrons is that you have to pay to park to come and use the library. That's not really the message that we want to give to the environment, to our patrons, especially in a situation where their tax dollars are already going to pay for our services, and then we're doubling down and double taxing them to then have them also pay to park to use the library. The dedicated spots that are at the library are utilized by staff.
Why?
Because where else would our, let me rephrase that. Should our staff pay to go to
There's a
their
lot
job?
of free parking, your staff is there all day. So why don't you take up the free parking spots and allow your customers to come in
What
and
free
park
parking,
there?
which free parking spots?
Smithfield Court.
Smith Clove is all free.
Smithfield.
Smithfield is all free.
I apologize, and it's the same situation
That's-
with Crane
that's
Park.
the-
I apologize, I don't know what certain
okay.
areas are.
That's
Yeah,
the road, that's the road next to the theater that goes from Mill Pond to Stage Road.
Traditionally, number one, a lot of those spots are used by patrons of the theater. That's been the situation, and they're held up for hours at a time as a result of that.
Yeah.
So Casey, let's drill in just a little bit, and I appreciate your comments. We've spoken, right? So first and foremost, it's 6 days a week, and it's 8 to 6. Okay.
That's all.
I'm sorry.
As are we closely.
Yeah. So I would think and hope that if you look at Smithfield, which is actually in the process of being not only redesigned, we're going to keep the angular parking in that side, and I've got an engineer consultant looking at the idea of taking the other side at the top half to also angular park, so I could pick up another 5 spots throughout the village. We're totally channeling for parking, so we're trying to be creative. To that end, with the limited amount of parking that we have, it seems to me that it would be probably a great idea to take up that Smithfield spots, because there will be a sidewalk that'll run from Mill Pond to Stage Road. There will be lighting and there will be sound. So it's going to be very inviting and very useful, at least there. If you wanted to go across the street, like you said, right at your corner, directly across the street from that point toward the dam, is also all free. So the only thing that's changed since the kiosks were put in is those 3 spots.
Correct, and those are the 3 spots
Right,
that
so-
are most frequently used by our people.
So what I would suggest, if the library would consider and look at this idea, is take the staff parking that's currently there and put them in all that free parking, right on Smithfield. I mean, from where they park now to Smithfield is probably 20 feet. If they parked on Smithfield, it would really be a great benefit. As far as the movie theater goes, that's an afternoon thing, and that's a lot of parking between, when that theater came in, they had to dedicate 125 spots. They had to show the planning board they had 25. So they did a calculation. That thing runs all the way up to the Smith House, all free. I'm not saying someone should walk from there to the library, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that I think if the staff came off the property and allowed those folks returning a book, coming in, doing some quick business, had that opportunity, I think that would go a long way. And you may want to consider the angular parking even in there, because if you angle in, you angle out, it's one way in, out, I think.
Just to address that, and obviously I understand it's public comment. Number one, we already do utilize an angular parking along that back perimeter wall.
Yep.
That's number one. Number two, while I appreciate the comment, we can certainly take back the consideration of having our staff park outside that perimeter without guaranteeing them that they have a dedicated place to park in order to report to work. Unfortunately, we're putting ourselves at the whim of, as Trustee Carl said before, the bump and shuffle of people, you know, who live over here now having to park over here and leave their car all day and all night because they can't park next to their house because of the changes of the behavior around the town. I think, you know, it's not something we're going to solve right here and right now. The ask that I have, because I think you brought up some great points about the future of what's going to be with the sidewalk and the lighting, that's not here and now, and I've got 80 complaints a month coming in right now. So my ask is that you guys consider some sort of a 30-minute grace period for those 3 spots only. You know, anything beyond that would require payment. If there's a topic about signage changing or something like that, we can address, you know, we can collaborate with you. But if you already have parking enforcement there ticketing, is it much more to have them there chalking?
So let's, and the board can consider that as far as the 30-minute grace, okay? Let's assume they did that. What our challenge will be, because it's not the 25 cents, it's not even $1.
Of course.
As everybody has so willfully, you know, put out on Facebook that it's a money make, cashing in, all that nonsense. Christ is coming back before we have a cash in on that. That's never going to happen.
Not asserting that whatsoever.
What its goal is, like your 30-minute thing, right, is the same thing. We want the rotational people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to that end, you know, we have a part-time parking enforcement officer. He would have to chalk those, and the first violation, what would we do with that first violation? Let's say somebody came in and it's 30 minutes, and they're parking there, because there are guests, I'm sure you have guests that come in and do research, and they may be there for the morning.
100%, and we're making sure that even now we put signs inside the library, like make sure you paid your parking. We would change that signage to say, if you're staying more than 30 minutes or 15 minutes, make sure you do that, and we make sure that as people are greeted at the door, they're reminded, hey, did you pay your parking?
Right.
The problem is that it's the same way you're trying to foster a behavior of constant movement.
Which is actually true, it's a behavior.
Right, 100%, and that's why I'm saying at no point am I asserting that it's anything about money making or profits or anything else. It's about behavior. The problem is the behavior that it's fostering within our organization is that it's not worth it for me to go to the library, and I got to deal with parking, and I got to deal with this. So we're just asking to try to find some sort of a solution, because we weren't part of the conversation when this thing that impacts us was decided upon and was.
Do you think, I'm just curious, since you know this, at least the 80 complaints. So if, let's say those 3 spots are free, it cures your problem?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
80 complaints, 3 spots.
Correct. Because those are the spots where the 80 complaints are coming from the people who in those 3 spots are getting ticketed. Anyone across the street, they were already paying for the parking. Anyone beyond it was already paying for parking. Anyone behind us, they're not paying for it now, and they weren't paying for it before.
So those 3 spots, this is the street.
Yep,
This is the 3 spots.
yep, right in front of
This
our
is
lawn.
Smithfield,
Yep.
which is also right in front of the
I know
library.
what you're saying about driving them up that street instead.
So there's free parking here.
Yep.
They want this.
Yep.
The fact that there is parking fee requirement here is, I think, more upsetting than the fact that free parking. I mean, if the car is parked here,
There is often not available. And the spots that are directly in front of the library, which people are just running in and running out, as opposed to across a lawn and around the block, that's the convenience factor. I agree with you.
I think a
hear
bigger
what- I
convenience is
hear what
taking
you're
the staff
saying.
off the property, totally.
Say again.
I would take the staff off the property, totally.
But if the staff can't report to a duty because there's no spots because of the impact of the rest of the decisions of the parking structure around the town, then now my staff are gonna be in a position where I'm gonna use taxpayer dollars to reimburse their parking fees to come to work. It doesn't make sense. I hear you.
You're saying from, on the pond side, from opposite the movie theater, every one of those spots are taken when your staff reports to work?
I'm saying that my staff report to work at various times a day, and you cannot
I
guarantee
can go,
that
I
there are
drive by there
always-
anytime, there's always spots.
There's often spots, but as you continue to make different changes around the
There's no
town,
more
that-
changes, the changes are solid.
Discussed a change this evening.
That's only for marking, that's only for a 2-week period during the holidays. That's it.
Well, I believe there was a larger discussion about the residents being.
Yeah, no, so what that was, Casey, is from December 1 to January 2.
That's it.
For that month, and historically, the meters were always bagged.
Sure.
So historically, there'll be no ticketing of any kind throughout the parking districts of Monroe. And that's just so people are engaged to want to come in. So that's as simple as that. I mean, it's only for that month. As far as the residents, Trustee Carl pointed out, is we don't want them in the street parking for the day either, right? Of course. So they need to find other accommodations as well. They need to allow those folks, if we chalk them, because we're not using the meters for that month. The meters are shut down, basically. That's how it's the only way we'd enforce it, because we'll have folks doing that. I mean, if I told you the number of businesses that actually park in front of their establishment, you wouldn't believe it.
No, and
So,
back to our conversation, I do recall that. Absolutely.
Is your hope kind of like how where it'll say parking for Amandol is only like parking for library?
And that would be fine also, affording patrons the ability to utilize our services without having to pay a fee on top of the fee that they already pay as residents of the town. This is essentially a taxed service that, you know, our funding comes from tax referendum dollars. It's on the back of the ballot. The public pays for the service, and then in order to come and utilize the service, they also have to pay. This would be like charging them to park inside of town hall to come in and pay their day. Like, there are spots that you guys dedicate for your services. We're asking that you just do the same for us.
Keep in mind also, when they redid their facility down there, the village did give up 2 spots on Smithfield Court to allow you to bring your driveway out and put a curb cut in to come out onto Smithfield Court. They were 2 parking spaces.
This is dating back 10 years,
When they
15
built,
years.
when your new facility was built,
Or renovated.
and you brought that driveway around, they 2 parking spaces
This is
were
over 10 years
removed
ago. This is-
so that your driveway could come around and exit out onto Smithfield Court. So there were 2 additional spots that are no longer there because your driveway's there now.
Understood.
If we had, and again, it's not about the fund, it's not about the money, it's not about anything. But let's assume for a second, I just want to be clear, 3 spots on Mill Pond Parkway. If there's no parking fee required, library solved.
I believe so. That is what I've been instructed, that's the behavior that we're seeing from our patrons. I'm amenable to, if we can try it for a trial period, if you guys are willing to try it for X number of months, and we see that 80 is consistently now 2 months in a row, we've seen a high number of complaints. If we see that number coming down as a result, and we're able to show that documentation to you guys, you know, hopefully we can move in that direction. Again, this is a request, it's not a demand, it's not.
No, I understand that. This is an
really
exchange of
appreciate-
ideas.
And we appreciate the relationship that we have with you guys. That's why it was frustrating that we weren't a part of the conversation so that we could have had this as a consideration point. Now we're playing cleanup, trying to dig ourselves out of, you know, angry patrons the day before a vote on top of it all. You know, so it's a
Well, I would
conflict
think
of
there's
just-
also senior citizens using the library.
Absolutely, 100%. And one thing that I had noted in a comment that I made as a private citizen was the fact that the handicap spot was within that, you know, fee zone, and Mayor Dwyer did inform me that that is not enforced for that spot.
Right.
So while the handicap spot is exempt from this, obviously, yes, a number of our patrons do need to be close to the building. And a number of our staff are also put out there as well.
Again, it's semantics. I don't want to just beat a dead horse here, but I would think that if your patrons are first and foremost your priority, your staff belongs on the street. Wholesale,
Understood.
direct it down. Because, I mean, then those folks that want to utilize, whether they're seniors or whether they're handicapped, whatever, have that opportunity to do that. And then maybe we can take maybe a couple of spots on Smithfield maybe and reserve them for the library.
I think both of these may be amenable, and I'm happy to bring this
I'm not
back
thinking
to-
about both, I'm thinking about one.
No,
Think about it, you give up parking inside the library, which is so convenient for everybody, patron-wise, right? Inside the property. The outside is still free. I mean, I think there's 79 free spots between Smithfield and Mill Pond.
but obviously without the opportunity to do a similar impact study and then also readdress that after whatever changes are going to be coming as a result of the impeding construction that's going on around the ponds, et cetera, you know, I can't say that that's going to be the solution. I can say that I can certainly go back to my board with that as a suggestion. I also have a union staff who will, it's, you know, my purview to make sure that they're safe and happy as well as our patrons. You know, there's a balance here, and I'm confident that we can find it together.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome.
I have a few things to add, sorry. I'm not sure if you're aware how large our staff is. We have 20 people that work at the library, and we do have staggered shifts. So parking does become a challenge for us. There are staff that already park on Smithfield Court because there are no spots available in our driveway. We host a lot of events on our lawn and in our driveway sometimes, and to create this idea of allowing our staff parking to become public parking, it's a mindset change again, because when we have to do an event, we're going to have to close that parking to be able to set up for that event. So now we're taking something away from the patrons again. We already have a problem with the one way on you know, so patrons can pull in and they can drop off their books, and then they have to go all the way around. We have patrons who do not do that. Some of them turn their cars back around and go out back on Mill Pond. And I think if you make that a public parking space, I think that will become an increasingly problem where will lead to accidents. There have been accidents in our driveway already with it just being staff parking. So it is a big concern for me.
Smithfield, if they're coming out that driveway, they can only go left, because that's a one-way street.
Correct.
Right.
There should be, but
Right.
I know, because I've seen them, I've seen them.
around enough, I see what's going
Right. Yeah.
Seen it.
In
So
Uber down a one way, the wrong way.
yeah, it's already a concern. I mean, you have people. We do have one handicap spot in our parking lot, but I can just see it now. It becoming a problem where people are confusing it to be a two-way or are lazy and don't want to go all the way around because they can only make the left. So, you know, I really do think that would be a challenge to turn that into public parking.
Your lot, is that right?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. Like I said, we have a lot of events that we do outside, and that we have to close that parking lot consistently in the summer.
So where does your staff park during
Tax
those
sale we
events?
had last week, or 2 weeks ago.
We park on the street.
200 people.
Right.
Raised over $1,000 for the library. Successfully, we had to shut down both sides of that parking lot, so no patrons would be able to come.
And for good reason. I mean, you got public display tables, people hanging up clothes, doing all kinds of nonsense.
Right.
No, I get all that. I don't think we're talking about that. I think we're talking about the daily operation of the library in 3 spots. If, let's say, this board says, okay, here's your 3 spots, have a good night, everything's solved.
I really do think so.
Really?
I really think that would
Is
make our
one of those
patrons
spots
so
handicapped?
happy. No,
No.
they're not. I really do think that would make our patrons happy.
Really?
We get, like I said, over 80 complaints. I got complaints today when I was working on the desk. It's a constant
Spots on
complaint.
that free road, go right ahead.
It's a constant complaint. I do have patrons saying, I'm not gonna use your library. I'm gonna go to Central
Right.
Valley and use the library because I don't have to pay to park. So it is a daily complaint, unfortunately.
You know, also the other thing, in Trustee Manager, you brought up elderly staff. A lot of our, not staff, excuse me, patrons. Another large segment of our patrons are single parents, or parents who are juggling, not necessarily
Right.
single parents, but a parent alone with a child. So, or multiple children, so trying to corral them and rein them in, okay, let's all head across the street and pay, let's all head back this way, and you know, it's just an added complexity that drives the behavior. to
Those
say,
3
"I'm
spots,
not
there's
gonna-"
always a spot open, then you're saying that when that mother comes with the 16 kids,
Almost always.
and that spot, it's only 3 spots, and yet those spots are always open, available to those people. Is that what you're saying?
We rarely
Really?
have people sitting there all day
No.
because of the parallel aspect of it. People pull up, they park, they run in, they drop the books, they come right back out, they pull up.
It is not
And so
our,
you couldn't do that with 3 spots on your property?
No, it changes the entire flow of traffic, it changes the experience for the patron, it changes the experience for our staff, it's very impactful, and while we appreciate the impact of parking in the town, we're a small organization, and it literally will drive business away from us entirely, and for a free service that does good for the community and creates events and creates unity, I mean, that's a tough spot.
it really has been our experience that people are not parking their cars in those spots all day. They really are quick, let me
Right.
just run in and run out kind of situations. I rarely, I mean, I'm there every day. I rarely see people parking their car all day
Every time
there.
I've ever needed to pull up, it's always open, and in fact, what sparked me to actually give you a call, I don't know if I shared with you at the time, is I was walking out of the library signing checks. I was maybe there a total of 7 minutes. I ran in, signed the checks, I was running out, my car was being ticketed. I was physically on a Zoom call with 200 people going, what the heck is going on here? And all 200 people heard the interaction. It's a nice interaction thing, but heard the interaction I had with the parking enforcement agent. It does, it changes behavior, it does, and those really are like touching those spots, like kiss and fly at the airport. Like that's the element that we've had, because remember, those spots are far enough down that they are right in front of our old property at 40 Mill Pond, which was a commercial business that shut down. We bought that building over 15, 20 years ago. In the last 6 years, we not only destroyed the building and demolished the building to create event space for the community, but we donated use of the building to the local fire department for their training to do extrication, wall breaches, burnings, smoke outs, different things. We have continued to partner with you guys related to this property in general, and I appreciate the comment that you're saying about taking those 2 spots at the time of the planning of the expansion. Absolutely, that's a consideration point here as well. Based on current behaviors, this is how we're seeing the flow. Based on current behaviors, this is what we see as the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to close the meeting.
O'Connor, I'll make the motion.
Berenger will second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, ayes so carried. Thank you. Good night, everybody.